Inside Africa, in association with Zenith Bank. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
This is one of the most prominent features of the African continent, the Sahara Desert. It separates the tropical and humid conditions of Central Africa with the dry and arid weather experienced here in the north. People living south of the desert are mostly Christian, while the dominant religion here is Islam. Now, I've come to a place on the edge of the Sahara which for centuries has been described as an oasis. I'm Errol Barnett, Inside Africa, and this is the starting point for my journey this week, which for the first time is through the North African country of Tunisia. As Africa's northernmost country, Tunisia sits south of the Mediterranean Sea, with Algeria to the west and Libya to the southeast. It's a mostly Arab nation with a topography that changes from coastal and green in the north to almost waterless and barren in the south. We've ventured to Tazeur, a southwestern city within the Sahara, long famous for its abundance of date palm trees rooted in natural spring waters. This place is literally an oasis in the desert. For centuries, exporting dates provided economic prosperity. Only recently have more modern trades emerged, but tradition here still holds strong. The joyous sounds of an elaborate wedding ceremony fill the streets on the day of our visit. Men on horseback, wielding swords and smiles, lead a congregation of wedding guests. These young girls, friends and relatives of the bride, are adorned in gold jewelry and henna tattoos. Closer to the center of city, though, we get more of a sense of typical daily life. Motorcycles are zooming all over town. They're very popular here, and that's so people can access what's called the Medina. They're quite typical in North African cities. They have narrow streets. Cars can't access them. This Medina here in Tazeur, in fact, is anywhere between 500 to 600 years old. It's a great way of looking at the distinct history of this part of town. So let's see what we can find. Temperatures here can often exceed 38 degrees Celsius or 100 degrees Fahrenheit in the summer. So along a labyrinth of passageways, you find cool shaded areas shielding you from the heat. Brickwork stands out in the sun's shadows. Yellow bricks arranged in various relief formations decorate the facade of buildings in this region. Again, we hear the sounds of traditional music. Just about everything you see in this Medina is steeped in tradition. Take these door knockers, for example. This one on the top left, that's for the father of the household. This one on the right is for the mum. The lower one for the kids. If you've noticed, they each make a different sound. So when you're inside, you know exactly who's knocking at the door. Unfortunately, since the country's revolution of 2011, tourists aren't knocking on the doors of businesses here. Mohammed Saeed.
Bonjour.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Mohammed Saeed owns this large 3-level store. He's feeling the financial pinch, so we sit beneath his hand-woven rugs as he explains what's going on.
On a perdu beaucoup de monde, les gens ne viennent plus.
People don't come anymore. They are scared. We have nothing. It is quiet. People are anxious, worried. We are having difficulties making any profits and are losing money instead. It is quiet here, no problems. But we don't have clients. The Europeans don't come anymore.
Now, this is a place that used to thrive off of farming and exporting dates. But how important is tourism to your livelihood now?
Par rapport à nous,
Very important. It's what we live by here in the south. We live off tourism and agriculture. If something in the two doesn't work, it impacts on our lifestyle. It occupies a lot of our thoughts, and we think negatively, act bad, and we don't work well. And we sometimes even close shops and don't work.
à la vie en général.
Mohammed also tells me the skills he and other elders possess have been passed down over generations and thus center on the sacred palm tree. But as it turns out, there may be another source of income for locals, and you could say it's pegged to the future. So this Medina, like the rest of Toujours and the rest of Tunisia really, is suffering economically because of the dip in tourism. But this region does have a secret weapon. In fact, it's a tourist attraction unlike any other on the African continent. Some say it has a special kind of force which could bring people back. I've set up a trip with a driver who knows how to get there, so let's go. Next, we head out into the Sahara Desert to discover a different kind of oasis amid the sand dunes. One using star power and skywalkers from a planet far, far away.
Thinking of banking in Africa? Think Zenith. Zenith Bank PLC is one of the biggest banks in Africa, with about 1 million shareholders and over 300 business offices in Nigeria and subsidiaries in other African countries and the United Kingdom. Committed to the best possible customer experience. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
Share the joy of a sinless connection. Visa phone, your passport to reach the world.
Hyundai believes this is where your inspirations set you free. Hyundai makes every drive brilliant. Live brilliant. Hyundai.
We're on a journey through western Tunisia, being driven through the Sahara Desert. This country is still trying to rebuild its economy after a revolution here sparked the Arab Spring in 2011. These days, in these parts, you're more likely to find a herd of camels passing through than you are a pack of tourists. But that sense of isolation is exactly what one famous movie director was looking for when he brought a far-out idea to this far-out location. George Lucas shot parts of the original Star Wars movie here in Tunisia in the late 1970s. In Episode 4, A New Hope, he used this desolate landscape to represent the barren planet with two suns called Tatooine, the birthplace of none other than fictional hero Luke Skywalker.
I can't understand how we got by those troops. I thought we were dead.
The Force can have a strong influence on the weak-minded.
What mission? What are you talking about?
Lucas also used the massive sand dunes here as a crash landing location for Skywalker's friends.
Go that way. You'll be malfunctioning within a day, you nearsighted scrap pile.
The fictional robots R2-D2 and C-3PO. But in order for us to make it to where Star Wars was filmed, we have to contend with the formidable terrain. Okay, man, I have to tell you, that was an awesome dash through the desert. And I found out while we were driving that the man behind the wheel, here, how are you, sir, is a former rally driver here in Tunisia, hence all of the tricks. Another interesting note, check this out. When George Lucas was here filming the Star Wars movies, Tahar was his personal driver. Here's the proof, and that's why he knew exactly where to go so we could explore some of the sets which are still here. Join me inside, Tahar. Let's see what we can find out. This is Mos Espa, the fictional village at the center of Luke Skywalker's world. There's not much left of the original sets built more than 30 years ago. But at the turn of this century, when George Lucas filmed the newer Star Wars prequels, he returned to Tunisia and built what we see today. At the request of the government, he left these sets intact to allow fans of the Star Wars world to move in Luke Skywalker's footsteps. Oh, wow. This is surreal. If you're a massive Star Wars fanatic, you will recognize this as Tatooine, a town from the Star Wars universe. The fact, though, is that this is just a set. It's been here for about a decade. And I'm curious, Tahar, what kind of impact did a big movie studio coming into town and putting up this set have on the local community?
Lucas brought activities to the region and beneficial economic activities. In addition, almost all residents of the region were employed. More than 1,500 background actors, cars, travel agencies, from 40 to 50 vehicles were moving back and forth. He brought a lot of energy.
26 Jules, take 2A camera. Hey, you! That'll be 7 druggets.
Well, I'd say cut.
The crew faced difficulties dealing with weather in the Sahara Desert.
How you doing?
I'm hot.
I can imagine.
But
I'm hot too.
Temperatures reached 135 degrees Fahrenheit or 57 degrees Celsius during filming. Then production was slowed by a rare summer rainstorm.
This is incredible. It's like 4 months work.
I think we'll go through this all right. There's always something.
Ready?
Still facing scheduling and budget constraints, George Lucas was able to get the scenes he needed, which appear in Star Wars Episodes 1 and 2. So what happened then after the big movie studio left and all the intention and the glamour went with it?
Ever since they finished the part of the movie shot in 2003, sand dunes have surrounded the film set from every side. They should not have allowed this to happen. Otherwise, the sand dunes will bury the entire set. Work-related activities were never back to the level witnessed when the movie was being filmed. We hope George Lucas will be back here.
For more than a decade, this set has withstood the elements, but experts predict it won't last for much longer. As Tahar said, small sand dunes are already engulfing the faux dwellings, with winds pushing much larger dunes closer. Like any other oasis in the desert, this one too will soon disappear. It was obvious to me you love to drive as we were coming through the sand dunes here. You're, of course, a former rally driver. What do you say, speaking of people coming back, what do you say to people who are reluctant to come to Tunisia right now?
I have been doing this job for 25 to 28 years, and I'm familiar with the south. It's desert and it's oasis. Tunisia is a very beautiful and safe country. I advise the whole world to come and visit Tunisia. Tunisia is a country of security, comfort, and stability. In Tunisia, foreigners live as if it's their own country. Besides, in Tunisia, there are more than 300 days of sunlight. This is a country where life is good.
We take a moment to look around and see how George Lucas was able to create the illusion of an alien homeland on Earth. All right, let's check out what's inside here. And you know what? As impressive as this may seem from the exterior, once you get inside, you realize this is just a set. You can even see how it was constructed, reinforced with a bit of wood here. Let's look a bit closer. You can see here there's kind of a metal mesh used to give the structure its shape. And here you can even pull away at what appears to be plaster, which gives it a bit of firmness too. I mean, relatively insignificant when you consider this is just a movie set for a multi-million-dollar movie from years ago. But when you speak to people here, you realize how significant this has been to their lives and their communities here in Western Tunisia. But as remote as this location is, we see proof that it's not completely forgotten. Gradually, camera-wielding tourists arrive by the carload. Treks here are included in hotel vacation packages. It's the only way to draw foreigners out of town and into the desert. Most of these tourists are from Europe, the continent only a short flight from North Africa. But as the sun beamed down over the fictional village of Mos Espa, Tahar told me he, like other Tunisians, is proud to be part of something so iconic. He just hopes people keep visiting and from places farther away.
And this is the Impluvio.
Next, we track down the Tunisian art director responsible for building and maintaining the Star Wars sets as we explore what he's doing to bring movie making back to Tunisia.
Winning Post, in association with Longines.
The spotlight is intense for any trainer with a runner in one of the world's top races. But if you've got a Japanese horse in the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe, be prepared for the entourage and the expectation that comes with it.
This is the biggest horse racing in the world. So even the normal Japanese racing fans knows this race is so special.
The Japanese are already a major force in the industry, having won some of the world's richest races, including the Dubai World Cup and the Melbourne Cup. But it's the Arc that they feel would confirm their position amongst the top racing nations.
Yay! Winning Post, in association with Longines.
After a rally through the Sahara, we discovered Tunisia's sand dune-covered sets from Star Wars Episode I, a monument to this country's link to the multi-billion-dollar franchise which shot the original Star Wars film here more than 30 years ago. We leave the dry south for greener pastures near the northern town of Hammamet. It's where we find Taib Jalouli, art director at Empire Studios. A 3-decade movie-making veteran, he was called upon by George Lucas to build the Star Wars sets down south.
When they tell you that Mr. Lucas is coming, you are very excited to know that, and very proud also to be involved with one of his movies, because he's the greatest one.
But Jalouli admits the Star Wars sets will definitely disappear soon. What he built was only meant to last for a few months. Today, though, he's much more interested in more permanent designs.
The 3 or 4 years after Star Wars, the business grows up, and we had a lot of big films here.
After Star Wars, you're telling me there was a lot of attention on Tunisia and a larger interest in making movies here.
Absolutely. After the Star Wars, we had a lot of other big films coming from France, Italy, to Tunisia.
Empire Studios was built in 2002 as an outdoor set, but as its popularity increased, so too did its layout. Today, it stretches across 24 acres of land and claims to have one of the largest reproductions of ancient Rome anywhere. Wow, and now, all of a sudden, we're in Rome.
Yes, we are in the Piazza di Rome, and you can see the temple on your left here.
And it's so realistic. I mean, we're literally walking on like cobblestone streets. This isn't fake.
It's
And you got the columns.
Yes, it's realistic. It was like that in Rome.
All the way down to Roman inscriptions up there above the door. Lions here, water fountains.
Everything was like that in Rome. Now you can see it's a kind of patchwork of different situations in Rome or in a Roman city, in Pompeii or in a Roman city.
What's through this way?
Here we are in the entrance of the Roman villa.
And now we've crossed into the interior of the villa.
In the interior of the villa. This is a Roman villa with rooms, garden,
and a courtyard.
museum.
What the studio tries to offer is variety. In addition to outdoor sets, large air-conditioned indoor spaces are also available.
Let me show you how we mix it up.
As a way of providing more alternatives, Jallouli often has to figure out how to economically change the appearance of the set completely.
And action!
He recently did this to accommodate French director Jean-Jacques Annaud when he came here to shoot the Arabian-themed movie Black Gold in 2011.
He didn't want to break this Roman set, and we decided to build the new set just in front of it. And
almost on top of it, so we can see this metal scaffolding. There's obviously something else that's been placed on top.
Exactly.
Proving that nothing is what it really seems on movie sets.
No.
As we move around the corner, we see the stunning outcome of Jallouli's hard work.
It's a huge Arabian set.
Wow.
Covering the Roman buildings.
All of a sudden, we've been transported elsewhere in time.
In a few seconds.
Wow.
Well, here we are in South Arabian architecture. It's near Yemen.
And you can really see it there in these window fixings.
In these windows, you can see the Indian influence in the Arab architecture of the south of Arabia.
Black Gold was a $55 million movie starring Antonio Banderas and centered around the discovery of oil on the Arabian Peninsula.
Father, I have to ask you something. Nasib offered to return Saleh and myself to you. Why didn't you accept?
Tarek Ben Ammar, the owner of Empire Studios, produced the film. Walking past a massive prop, Jallouli tells me in order to keep attracting big-budget productions, he and Ben Ammar need to offer more than realistic backdrops. They also need an extensive wardrobe.
You see this helmet?
And these are all made of metal. These aren't
Yes.
plastic.
No, it's metal.
For Black Gold, 7,000 costumes, 700 saddles, 400 guns and 250 swords were handmade and are still available for future productions. But that's only a portion of what's here. Within these 1,400 square meters are additional Egyptian, Greek and Roman styles of ancient clothing.
Here we have Roman costume, rich Roman costume.
And the detail is fascinating.
Details, you can see the details here. This is a lady's.
Wow. This is very impressive.
Well, this is the centurion costume. It's made in leather, and copper.
All of the costumes here are made of the actual materials they would have been made of way back when.
Absolutely.
George? Yeah?
Star Wars may have put Tunisia on the movie-making map, and Black Gold may have helped Empire Studios expand its offerings, but right now, no new films are in production here. Jallouli tells me since the Arab Spring began in 2011, the country has yet to fully stabilize, so he and his colleagues wait.
We just scout for 4 great big films, and they are waiting the moment to come to shoot here.
And what's your favorite costume?
Oh, maybe This one, the Centurion one.
That is the coolest one. All right, ready for work. Yes, this is the favorite costume. And that concludes my look at the movie industry in Tunisia this week. I hope I've shown you a side of this country you didn't expect to see as the industry here tries to get going once again. You can always see more on our website. Connect with the show team on Twitter. And you know what? Tell me your thoughts of my look right now under Errol CNN. But as a Centurion, I must now patrol the streets of Rome for trouble. So I'll see you online until next time.
Inside Africa, in association with Zenith Bank. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
Thinking of banking in Africa? Think Zenith. Zenith Bank PLC is one of the biggest banks in Africa, with about 1 million shareholders and over 300 business offices in Nigeria and subsidiaries in other African countries and the United Kingdom. Committed to the best possible customer experience. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.